I would like to share how to make keys for the Bobcat bucket and make them yourself. This Bobcat I purchased almost new and I had no idea how those things work, and the plan was to use this Bobcat for cleaning snow, removing snow in the yard. And then a project came up, and this project required some digging. And I was ready to buy some keys for the bucket, but when I started talking to professionals, I was surprised to hear so much insecurity. They were very hesitant. They didn't know what to say, how big is your bucket, and how many holes and how far. And when I gave them all the dimensions, they still were not sure, and telling me maybe you will have to replace the blade which has 2 holes. And so basically I understood that I might lose lots of time waiting. So instead of waiting and spending few $100, I decided to take some risk and make some keys myself. What I used is a grader blade. Let me show you. See my animals? The enclosure is supported by such grader blades. If you have seen a snow plow flying by and sparks flying, in front they have such a blade. And when the blade is worn out, they replace them. Here is another example, see? And they already have holes, which is nice. So basically I took such a blade, some graders which grade the gravel roads, they also for sure have such blades. And you can talk to any highway company, and they have usually a pile of such blades and they sell them cheaply. The gentleman who built all this fencing, he purchased those blades $1 a piece. So anyway, I found an old blade and I cut it in pieces. And I always use the holes, so I don't have to drill any holes. So I took a grader blade and I measured the distance I wanted. I don't remember, like 3 inches, 4.5, whatever. And here in the back I didn't care how much it will stick out, like 2 inches, 3, 5, 10. It didn't matter to me because the project is really small. So first of all I had to unscrew the original bolts. This is the way how they installed, and underneath of course they will be clogged with soil, with clay, whatever. You will have to clean them up before you can unscrew them. And my impression was from the factory they come with some thread sealant or whatever, so they don't unscrew so easily. But anyway, it was not a big deal. I unscrewed them and I used longer bolts, which also doesn't matter in my case. Of course it's not the perfect solution, but as I said, I have a small project, so it works for me nice. And then by trying and by error, first I made like a dull end, and then I discovered I like more the sharp ends, keys with sharp ends. And I cut them using an angle grinder, and it took me maybe 2-3 hours to cut all 7 pieces. And then because I already have holes in place, I just inserted a bolt and attached them. And then I realized I will have a small problem. They might wobble and turn around, especially when you hit a rock. So in order to prevent this, I didn't want to drill another hole, and I didn't want to weld anything, because this is a temporary solution and I was planning to remove those keys as soon as I'm done. So in order to prevent any moving around, I basically used all the leftover pieces. Those pieces came from cutting the blade. See those angles? So I just collected them and I put them on top and welded them to the tooth. So each tooth has another piece welded on, and the purpose was, see the straight line. So this piece is holding now the tooth in place and doesn't allow it to move to this side or to this side. So that's how they stay in place. The bolt holds them tight, and this piece of metal in front, which has a flat here surface, it prevents them from turning around. That's all. That's really all. Original bolt, remove original bolt, because you will need a longer bolt. And any piece of metal, you can use any. I was ready to use soft metal. Some guys tell me spring from the car, from trailer, those blades will work nicely. I think any metal would work depending on your project. And I hit so many rocks already, and they work fine. I hope this helps, and yeah, this is a cheap solution. Self-made tees for a Bobcat bucket. Thank you. And if you ever decide to dig a basement by hand, just pray to the God that you don't hit a boulder like this one.
Сел, все.